everybody? It's your boy, the Vsw Stunner. We're here with a very, very special episode of Vsw Podcast. That's right. We got the legendary man himself, Mr. Kill, played by the one and only Brian Kahrs. Welcome.
I got the world by the balls, and everything belongs to Killcore.
How's it going, Mr. Stoner? Great to meet you, brother. You're a legend in the wrestling industry, as I've seen for the last year. You're everywhere, brother.
But you're a legend on Netflix, so I mean, we're about equal now. So, I mean, let me ask you something first off. Because I mean, I first saw you in, the film, Kill City Cup. And then I kind of did back research because believe it or not, I'm not much of like a TV movie person. I'm kind of just, I watch what I watch, and then I end up wanting to watch things, but then like I watch it, I like something, and then, but I'm such a creative person, I end up getting back into my own projects. So like, it's very hard to focus. But right. So I started to backtrack your career a little bit. But let me ask you, were you a wrestling fan yourself?
I was, since I've been in diapers, I've been the biggest wrestling fan on planet Earth. But like the last, 10, 15 years, I kind of faded out of it because I'm like you. I'd rather, instead of being entertained, I'd rather get into my own projects and entertain, Now, I think that there's a problem today with wrestling is they just don't have the characters that they had back in the day, I was raised on like George the Animal Steel, Chief J Strongbow, I'm showing my age. I'm like 100 years old. But
that's okay though. You're talking my language. I understand it.
Yeah.
I just recently went to this wild show where it's like midget mayhem and brawling. You've probably seen the clips. And the guy Julian was there from Kill City Cup. He was refereeing. It had some other characters, but the characters and the attitude and the way people presented themselves actually brought it back to those days. It was right. A nice throwback.
Just a quick thought on it.
That kind of got lost on TV. Now people are there, kind of for the clout. Where before they were just, they were the character. George the Animal, you didn't want to talk to him. He looked like an animal.
Yeah. Yeah. See, now if you notice the micro wrestlers, they're getting all the people. Their crowds are big compared to the other indie shows, because they all seem to have a character. Nobody's like a regular person, Like when I click on a wrestling show these days, everybody looks too regular, It's just not appealing anymore to me.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Just numbers wise, it would be very hard for another promotion. I would say even the best of top ones. To really sell out a show like that on a Tuesday night, just in Newton, Mass, and just be like, here we are, and sell it out in the front row and the pricing and everything, and just doing numbers in my head, I'm like, wow, that's impressive. Because I know what shows can kind of bring in and kind of not bring in, and where the losses can be in. And this was a win all around, I can say that. And that different style of wrestling, that's what drew me to Kill City Cup. I was in a lull. I was in a vicious lull because everything looked the same. Even on the indie scene, I'm seeing the same guys here and there because I'm going to a lot of shows. Well, there's a lot of shows. And these guys' storylines don't work week by week. They play it out promotion by promotion. And so I was kind of seeing the same matches. So I got into a lull, and I'm just like, and then I started to see, the Kill City Cup. Then I heard your classic line, the world by the balls. And we're going to get into some of that, creative work there, because that was just genius. But I started to see that. So I said, what's this? And I clicked the link, it's a nice sized movie. It's not a 3-4 hour long event. It's a perfect little package. And I sit there, I watch, perfect my attention span. And I'm just mesmerized, and I start seeing faces, and I start seeing names I know and people I know, but they're in a different light, you know. And it shows that, you know, wrestlers aren't just wrestlers; they're actually the perfect actor because they can do the acting part, but they're also their own stuntman.
Right.
You know, you don't
Yeah,
need a
the
double.
Luke. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like Luke, you could tell he meticulously he probably follows everything that's going on in America with indie wrestling, you know. And it looks to me like he just meticulously chose the guys that are perfect for Kill City Cup and flew them in, you know. And he put a lot of time and effort into getting the right characters because there was no regular people there. They were
No,
all
everybody was a character. Everybody had that, what we were just talking about, this just something extra. They, you know, they're not someone that you would see working at 7-Eleven later on that day. They're not somebody that you might run into the shopping mall. These are dangerous killers,
yeah.
murderers, psychopaths, might you say, you know. And that's what brings the fun out for me in wrestling, you know, because that's what it's, for me, it's supposed to, I like that fantasy element, you know, it's that escape.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I don't know,
So,
maybe
when you started getting into acting?
who me?
Yeah,
What, when did I get into acting?
because it was before Kill City Cup.
Oh, what was the question?
Um, but like you said, you know, you were a lifelong wrestling fan, but you get
Yeah,
into acting yourself.
yeah, yeah. Well, see, like the character of Mr. Kill, I used to be a home builder. My day job is construction, and I was a home builder for a while, building my own houses right before the collapse of the economy, 2008, nine, and the last house I built, I sold to a buddy of mine who owned a video game. We weren't real good buddies when he bought the house, but we became good buddies. Now he owned a video game called Adventure Quest,
Okay.
and he needed a villain. He was real anti corporation. The big corporations were cloning his video. His video game was really popular. There's millions of kids playing it, and all of a sudden these big companies started finding out about it, and they actually tried to clone his game and steal his play and stuff. So he was so mad at it, he created this evil company that he put in his video game, and he needed the CEO for the evil company. So I was still working on the house. I sold the house to him, and he wanted me to keep working on it for the next year and a half, putting a pool in and stuff. And he asked me if I did any acting, and I lied to him and said, "Yeah, I can act." And but he took me and he said, "Go get a black suit and some black gloves." So I went to the thrift store and I found this perfect black suit. It's made out of polyester, and it was $16 for the suit. Fit me perfect. So I didn't buy it because I left, and because I knew that Wednesday they had half price sale at that thrift store. So I came back and I got the suit for $8. And I put that suit on, and with that suit, I turned into the richest, the most powerful, evil CEO on planet Earth with my $8 suit. And I created a character, Chairman Platinum, and we dabbled in some wrestling. We actually had Tanaka. We built a ring. I built a set. In fact, that's where Luke got the set. He bought it from him, from that guy, because we started a project and it ended up getting canceled. You know, like just most projects. Not 9 out of 10 projects never get finished. You know,
Yeah, that's for sure.
one reason or another, they just get put on hold or whatever. So yeah, we actually had Pat Tanaka come in. We built a ring there, and we had Pat Tanaka come in and teach us how to wrestle, because my buddy he was actually in his own video game. He was the hero character, Adam Bond. I'm gonna say Audix, his name was. So we learned how to wrestle, and then through that, we ended up. He did a bachelor party for one of his workers, and that guy was a big wrestling fan, so he wanted me to go, and we were going to have a wrestling bachelor party. It was a wrestling theme. So he sent me out to go find some old wrestlers that we could invite there and stuff. And I ran into the Micro Championship Wrestling guys. And we ended up hooking up with them. We had the best bachelor party in the world. Brutus the Barber Beefcake was there. Tanaka was there. Brian Knobs, a bunch of others. And we had a great party. But we ended up getting tight with the Micro Championship Wrestling guys. Johnny Green, bless his soul. And we ended up doing shows with them occasionally, you know. So that was my first experience of getting in the ring and taking bumps and stuff. But I kept that character. But then the video game kind of died off a little bit, and I went my way, and Adam went his way, and a couple of years went by. Then Luke bought the ring from Adam, and that I built, you know. And I knew when I heard Luke bought the ring, I knew he'd be calling me, because there's no way we had that thing taken down and put in storage. And there was no way anybody on planet Earth would be able to put that thing together but me. I had
Now,
it all
had you already heard of Luke before prior to this? Did you know he was in wrestling? Oh,
no.
You know, he's a wrestler anyways. He's been done shows. But yeah, okay, so you had no idea, like, this guy just bought this. You're probably curious, what the hell's he going to do with this?
Yeah, that's when I faded totally out of wrestling. I didn't know anything about it, but somebody called me and said that somebody bought the ring from Adam out of the storage unit. And I knew, I said, eventually who that guy is, I don't know who he is, but he's going to call me, because he won't be able to put it together by himself, you know, like and sure enough, I don't know, maybe a year went by, and I ended up getting a call. He got my number and he called me. He said, could you help me come put this thing together? So I went down there and we did that. We put it together, and little by little, we made his dream come true of making a wrestling movie. And my God, did his dream come true big time, in a big way. He did really good for his first shot, you know.
I have to say, I mean, it is heartbreaking. I mean, just because, like I said, I mean, I don't know what the budget is for it, but it wasn't a Hollywood budget. Okay, and we didn't want, but I don't think he wanted to be. But like you said, it was his vision. I went to a panel. You know, it's funny, like, he handpicked people. I went to a panel, and it was very cool. It was up in Maine, and he was there. Mason X was there. Queen G was there. Some of the artists were there. Some of the designers, and they were talking about, you know, they did a little panel, and they were talking about, you know, the inspirations and so forth, and they showed a very old poster, you know, maybe 10 or plus years old, that Luke had for this idea, and like had all these guys on there, and one guy was still the same, and that was Brian Cage. He you know, had him in mind when, you know, thinking of this project, and you know, I think that's where it comes in, you know, because it hits so many different genres for so many different people. Like, I know a lot of horror people that like it for the scary kind of aspect. I know people in the wrestling world that like it for the wrestling aspect. You got me that like it for everything. Some people like it just for its cheesiness. And I think, you know, going over the top between you and your one-liners, Randy Carver doing the commentary, it was just, you know, it was harmonic. It was beautiful.
Yeah. It couldn't have worked out any better, you know. Now, if he does another one, maybe we'll bump up the production quality. I don't know. I don't know what he's got going through his head now, but if he did another one and we had the audio and the video a little bit better, you know, maybe that'll appeal to people a little bit more. But you know,
now, when was the film actually filmed? What year?
Oh, I can't even remember. My memory, I don't even try and remember anymore, because I'm so old. I'm like 100 years old. My memory's shot, so I don't even bother. But and I do so many other projects, you know. But I know we shot a whole bunch. He invited a lot of wrestlers, flew them down. We shot a lot of footage, but for some reason he didn't like it, and none of that footage was put in this show. It was kind of, so he used that as a practice, you know. He learned what he learned from that shoot. It was a one night, an all-nighter. And then he said he wanted to do it again, you know, with different people, new people. And I think we did I think it was we shot that in 2 nights, that whole thing. And then we did a couple of, I had to go back and do my voice a couple of times. But it was way back before my Netflix adventure over in Alaska. We shot it way before that, but it took them probably over edit it, but just like everything, even that Netflix show, that took a year and a half to edit, which is good. I rather, people who are involved in the shows, they get hyped out. When is it going to come out? But I understand the editing process. It's long and intensive, and there's a lot more problems to solve in the editing than there is while you're shooting,
It is. That's why, I mean, even myself, I try not to make too many mistakes. I try not to bring on people that make a lot of mistakes. This way the editing minute and I can just get it out there. But I used to run them live, and then sometimes it would just be horrendous because, you get to a point where everybody's just like, okay, what are we going to do here? But, I guess that's kind of the cool part about the taped wrestling. We got to experience it as fans, during the pandemic. We got to start to see, the mainstream started to do tapings, and then the independent scene started to do these shows, and some of them were a little bit different than others. I remember I watched one had like classical music, no talking, just classical music and people wrestling. It was really fun to watch. That was another thing that kind of drew me into Kill City. It was that taped format, so you can slow things down a little bit. You can take your time and kind of perfect the way you want the match to look. It's not going to be on the fly based off what's going on with crowds and this and that. But it didn't look over choreographed either. It looked natural. But it was very nice too. Like I said, it was a very refreshing thing to watch when I first watched it, and I've watched it now probably, I'll say honestly, probably over 1,000 times because I just really enjoy it. I always learn something new. There's so much kind of like hidden in it, and there's funny jokes that you just kind of pick up. So, you went down there to help Luke and set the ring up, and you guys obviously started to get to talking. You probably, talked about the project, and, he was like, well, you can, you already kind of had this evil corporation character kind of flowing that went perfect with the Mr. Kill Club. So then, like you said, he brought you in, and you just kind of sat there and just kind of threw out the one-liners. How was that? How was that process? Must have been fun.
Well, see, I seen a couple of reviews where I'm getting a lot of credit for these one-liners, but I mean, maybe I threw some of my own in it, but I would say most, maybe 60-70% of those one-liners came from Luke. He was actually like up on a ladder. This dude is an amazing athlete. Like you would never, but he was up on like this 12-foot ladder. I think he's always barefoot. I don't think I ever seen him with shoes on. He could walk that top rope with no shoes on, walk around
that's
like
Florida lifestyle.
And he's holding the camera, and I'm holding the light, which the lighting really was bad. It was horrible. It made me look really disgusting, which was perfect for the show, but he's up on a ladder holding the camera, feeding me one-liners, just spoon feeding me, like all the lines. I don't think I've ever seen a script. He never gave me a script, and I'm kind of used to that. We're doing all these independent movies and stuff. Sometimes they don't even, like they'll call me in, and they'll give me the script that morning because they're up all night writing it, And I just got used to that, just getting the thing and reading it, just understanding the character they want and just reading it off, And it worked out perfect. Those one-liners, that's my thing now,
Yeah, I mean, like I really honestly gotta know, do you hate B movies?
Yeah, I hate B movies.
I mean, like I said, it added to that depth of the whole wrestling because, it's one thing when you watch, wrestling and you see a show, but now you have, like I said, you're watching somebody watching this show and you're kind of reacting to how they're reacting. And, you playing the villain was perfect. anyways, but I'm a fan of the bad guys, so I like to see that kind of like, what are they going to do? How are they going to ruin the plot? What are they going to do this? And the creative flow again for that was really great with Leon and all of his work, and then obviously the machine brought in, and then the special effects that were added to it were just amazingly fun.
Yeah.
Sparks in the eye, and it was, and that extra time for editing was well worth it because it completed it. It made it that movie. It made the difference between just a regular wrestling show and a movie.
Yeah. I was in total shock when I first seen it. I had no idea it would come out that freaking cool. I didn't know what. It's different when I'm watching it happen, and he like filming it. He could say cut and tell them, okay, let's do it again, do it different, and he just got exactly what he wanted. He was all over the place, just directing like a madman, and he got exactly what he wanted, and everybody there was just, we were all going to, well, not me. I mean, I sat in the chair the whole time. I had it made, that I never had it so easy. But all the other wrestlers, they were taking a beat. We were all
stuck. Yeah, he was sitting there next to Queen Bea, just looking good, and she, just nodding her head, yes and no.
Yeah, I mean, we had it made. They were
and,
all
that was a perfect pairing too.
He
all formal, her all formal, and it's just, it left people just to wonder, like, especially people like me that like, again, I like a good storyline or a good depth. So like, I wanted to put, backstories to almost every character. I wanted to know, well, where did this guy, how did he rise to power? How did he get hold of Kill Corp? Where does the Queen come into play? Where did Mason X escape from? All these things they run, and that's what's beautiful about these projects. It had that is so creative that it just sparks other creative people's creativity beyond belief.
Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know how many people watched it so far, but hopefully this will encourage the whole indie wrestling industry to do a little better. Make some characters, add a little color to your shows and stuff.
It is. I mean, sometimes that's what's kind of needed, add a little flair and bring the fun back into wrestling. It doesn't have to be so realistic and so athletic and this and that. When I grew up, and like you just said, I'll age myself. There was people like, King Kong Bundy and Haystacks Calhoun and Big John Studd. These weren't athlete-looking guys. They barely looked like they could walk, but they could wrestle and they could get out there and perform and they could entertain, and bringing that kind of style back and bringing these characters back, people like Bones, the voodoo character, that's great. It's fun.
Yeah, the costumes and the makeup. I mean, that's what makes a show. What makes the crowd want to get more involved and stuff. And I don't know, do they like WWE? They used to, everybody had signs. Do they still do that? People have in the crowd have tons of signs.
The signs nowadays are very limited, and like everything else in the world, censored, and some of them they'll take from you, and they only want to say certain things. But it is funny on the indie scene. There's a lot of signs. I actually just had a guy on, Greg. He's a sign guy. And he goes and makes almost like these meme-like signs out of people's wrestlers' faces, and he prints them out, and they're huge, and he brings them to the shows, and he puts them up, and he brings that nostalgia back. It's awesome. And you're starting to see signs on the indie scene, but on the big show, no, it gets censored off. People don't want to see it. You bring something from an other brand, they'll take it away. It's weird.
Wow.
But last time when I the 90s, I remember going to wrestling shows and everybody had a sign. You just brought it.
Yeah. I know when I was doing the stuff with the micro championship wrestling guys, I would actually I remember I made like 100 signs with my face on it that said different things, moron, jerk, thief, and I'd have somebody hand it to the crowd before they even seen me come out, so they would look at these signs and they would say, okay, this guy, we gotta hate this dude. I mean, because I had that face on the sign, and I would actually I'd spend the whole night rolling up balls of tape and paper, and I'd fill them up in like Winn-Dixie bags, and I'd have somebody before the show. I'd have somebody go and hand them to the crowd, and they'll say, when the bad guy comes out, throw this out. It's safe to throw. It's just a little paper ball. So when I come out, I get hit with all these paper balls, and the signs are up. So they already hated me. They didn't even know who I was, but they hated my guts the minute I walked out. And I do my thing. I just point at them.
But I mean, and that's good work, Vsw. I mean, that's good. Just adding atmosphere, going the extra step. And one thing to be the bad guy and just come out and try to get the crowd. But if you've already got people that are already going to hate you, and then everybody starts to see them doing like, oh, let's get involved. They're going to start booing you, and all of a sudden, everybody in the crowd, you're the most hated guy on the show, and that's what you want.
Yeah,
you're the bad guy. People don't realize that in wrestling, the bad guy wants to be booed. Like that's what they get up. That's what gets them going. They want to be that bad guy.
I don't. I'm in real life. I'm a real good, compassionate guy. I think anyway. But I love being the bad guy in front of a crowd. There's nothing that makes me more happy than getting booed and people ripping a sign up and throwing it at me. I love it. I actually the first time I would never call myself a wrestler or a worker ever, but I'll take bumps. I'll interfere in the matches. I was the evil manager for Blix. He's the evil micro wrestler, and we did this big. It was a show at MetroCon in Orlando. A big crowd. I don't know, looked like over 1,000 people, and they had the signs with me on there, and that was the first time I actually went in the ring and did a lot of stuff, and I ended up getting stink faced by Meatball. Meatball's 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide.
The other night. We started the other night, and then a fan paid to get it. A fan threw money at him and said, "Give it to me," and he did it.
That was the worst day of my life. My face still smells like his ass. That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, he still does it, and it was wild. Yeah, oh man, I feel sorry for you. I felt sorry for him. I don't know why that must be his thing because he paid good money. It was like $200.
But it wasn't cheap. He paid $200. That's crazy. For it. But the laughter you get out of that crowd, that they'll never forget. Anybody in that crowd they'll talk about that for the rest of their lives. They'll be telling their grandchildren, I was at this show and this big fat small guy pulled his pants down and wiped his ass all over this guy's face. They'll be, nothing makes me happy. That talk about forgetting your problems. You see the big ass wiped on some guy's face.
Oh yeah, and like I said, it's so, and that was the whole thing. That show just brings everything back to when people weren't so, I guess, offended by everything, honestly. The jokes were okay, Were they PC? No, probably not. They'd probably offend most people. Yeah. But the crowd wasn't offended. Nobody was getting upset over it. They were just taking it as what it was, and that was humor. Yeah. And I'm fine with that. I grew up with movies like Blazing Saddles and stuff, and it would be just humor. You're not living that life. It's humor. It's something you're watching. And like I said, there was a bunch of racy kind of things going on that you wouldn't see in regular indie wrestling. There was one of the guys, motorboated somebody in the crowd. If a normal wrestler was to stick his face between a woman's boobs in the crowd, he'd probably get, canceled. Yeah. This guy got to do it twice. He went back and did it again afterwards. But like I said, it added to it, and it made what I call a show. It was more than just going to an event. It made whatever money I spent way well worth it. I was very well entertained. I still am entertained thinking of it. And that's what you want out of wrestling, when you got guys, Huggy, the little pimp, he comes out, he's wild.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love Huggy Cub. He comes
You
out with
know,
his.
he was there. There was so many people there that were just, like I said, memorable and fun. And it brought it back to that, point because, and then my mom was like, "What'd you go see?" And I was like, I went to see, the little guys wrestling. My mom was like, "Oh, did you know, when your grandparents came from Italy and, whatever, yeah, they used to go to Boston Garden every weekend and watch the little people wrestle." I'm like, "No, I didn't even know that." And like, we were talking about that, so it's kind of funny. But like I said, that got lost. When I grew up, they still had that going on. You had, 3 against 1. You'd have 3 of them versus King Kong Bundy,
Yeah.
or something like that. And then it kind of faded away. I think the last of it was when all those dinks were around with Doink. And then there was like no more. Little guys. But the indie scene has a few here and there, but then you see these kind of shows, and again, it inspires. It shows you something different. It shows you a different light of what wrestling is and can be, because it's so subjective. It's what you want it to be and what you want and how you want it to be. I mean, look what Kill City was. Totally different vision than what somebody would call, pro wrestling. Jim Cornette would probably say it's the worst piece of shit he ever saw. But to a lot of people, and to a lot of the people that were in it, it's amazing. So again, like I said, wrestling is just so subjective.
Yeah. You remember when WWE used to have evening gown matches? They would take top stars and put them in evening gowns.
Oh yeah. I mean, the WWE used to be really wild, and it wasn't even like people don't even realize like it wasn't even the Attitude Era. Attitude Era was okay, that was you had a lot of sexuality and wild stuff. But if you go back even before in like 70s and 80s, there was crazy stuff going on in wrestling. And they would, you had wild characters back then, like Adrian Adonis and stuff, that would do outlandish things. And people forget about that. They just, they always assume the most like wildest part was the '90s, maybe some to some extent, but there was a lot of violence too back there. Chain matches, cages, just brutality, and I feel like back then it was even more stiffer. People would, really stiff you, and they were there to fight.
I remember, they had an adorable Adrian's flower shop. They would set up the ring. There's another thing they don't do anymore. Like Brother Love would have his little setup in the ring. I love you, holding his book of love. And then they had they come in, they build a little set for Adrian Adonis's flower shop, and it'd be all flowers. But I remember one time he came in the ring. Adrian, he had some flowers, and Macho Man was there with Elizabeth, and he goes, "I have some flowers," and he started to hand them to Elizabeth, and he goes, "No, for you," and he gives them to Macho Man. Just little things like that. They won't do that today.
No, they won't. But like that's the thing. I don't know if it's just because I was a kid or I was just whatever. It drew me in. Like I swear, like I was more invested in probably Macho Man marrying Miss Elizabeth kayfabe on SummerSlam than I was in most of my family getting married. Like honestly, truly, it got you so invested in the storylines when they added those extra details.
Yeah, I remember getting emotional, but that it was like my life when I was younger. Well, I haven't watched a movie in 35 years. In fact, the last movie I ever watched was The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, and it was just so sad. I was depressed for 3 weeks after I watched. I don't know why. It just brought out some emotions. Somebody said maybe it's because it hit too close to home for me. But I don't know. But that was the last movie I ever watched. I don't know why, but the wrestling that was my only form of entertainment really growing up. I didn't like anything else. I just wanted to keep seeing wrestling and get involved, and just the crowd is part of the show. The audience, even if you're watching from TV, somehow they would draw you in where you really believe and you are part of the show.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And that's the thing, growing up, there's a lot of people that, they might or might not like sports. Sports, while it's so popular, regardless whether it be basketball, football, whatever. Like for me growing up, I watched sports, but I couldn't follow sports. Like I couldn't tell you who every player was. I couldn't tell you the stats. I couldn't tell you all that. It was hard for me to get all these things. But I could tell you, what champion was here and who ran what federation and this and that, because that was wrestling and that was my sport of choice, and that's what I kind of followed. And that's how I kind of looked at it. But yeah, it is a form of entertainment, and even back then I used to remember, they had like Saturday Night Main Event, and people like Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was just such a great person on the mic. I used to love just listening to commentary because it was funny. It was, they were, the one-liners again, again, those one-liners kind of draw you in, and it's like, wow, this is funny stuff. I remember even as a kid, I would sometimes, watch it without any, whatever. I would, well, not watch it, but I would get, I didn't have a double VCR. So what I would do is, rent videos from the video rental store, and I would record the audio on my tape player. So then I could at least go back and listen to the commentary of the event, whether it be WrestleMania 4, whatever I rented. So I would at night, listen to a lot of the commentary before bed because it'd be funny, especially people like, like I said, Bobby the Brain, later, Jerry Lawler would get on there. He even had, what's his name there? The, Jesse the Body Ventura, he was funny on there. The color commentators, made wrestling for me growing up. So I kind of, again, appreciated all the commentary that was added, like into Kill City. Between, like I said, your one-liners and Randy Carver kind of going in with his one-liners and saying, just there was just some funny stuff in there. I know one of the things that was really funny was like Third Eye Blinded when the guy got when he got stabbed by Hecate Hangman and a few other lines in there. Just like I said, all that added together is reminiscence, And again, it brings you back to wanting to be a child and wanting to, love wrestling again. For wrestling.
Right. See that's another little tidbit of knowledge about me. I never watched I'll play any sport in the world. I love playing sports. And if somebody says, hey, let's go have a football game, I'll go. I love it. But I never watched a football game in my life. I never watched a baseball game. I just can't do it. It's just, I can't sit there. I have a disorder, That's where the wrestling, Johnny Green used to tell me the professional wrestling is where, like, those characters, they become most famous because in football they got a helmet on. Baseball, you can they just have a quick glance at each guy. But wrestling, that camera is on their face. They got the microphone, and the whole world gets to know that character, close up. And I think that's where they get a real connection with them. I think, and I don't know who used to say, but the wrestling character is actually it's actually an enhanced version of that person's real personality. It comes out, their real personality comes out and just gets exploded, and enhanced on the camera. I think it was Johnny used to tell me that, but he's right. That's the way it should be. You should get intimately involved with your character emotionally.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you want a connection. Nobody wants, obviously in cinema it's a little different. If you get offered a role, it comes down to dollars and what you want to do. But in the wrestling world, you get a little bit of a choice sometimes until you get too big. And you want to, have somebody that you can connect with because, let's face it, first of all, you want to play something that's not going to fit you because that's not going to look good, even as an actor,
Right.
You know that. And B, you want to have fun with it. You want it to grow into something. You want it to, like I said, blossom and bloom. You can't do that if it's something that's not a passion already there.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys will, think of something that they wanted to be as a kid, whether it be a rock star or whatever, and that will be their character. And that's good. It's a great base, a great start. Something like that. That's what I remember most about wrestling, growing up, is everybody had a character, there was no just, if you just had a name, you were gonna lose that night, pretty much. That meant you were the jobber. Everybody else, you were your tax man, you were an undertaker, you were, you worked in, a Skinner out in wherever. You were like Kamala, everybody had a character. It didn't even matter what you were. If you were a dentist, you were still a wrestling dentist. Like everybody just had something. Nowadays, you're a name, you're an athlete, you come out, you might have a gimmick that is somewhat of a character, but it's more, vocalized character rather than physical character. Not, nobody's rocking, like a Kamala style gimmick anymore. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's, big boss man coming out as a police officer, really portraying it. Nobody's doing that anymore. But but that's what it was like. And that's what Kill City's like. Those are all characters. Again, throwing it back, it's what makes it unique. Everybody's a character. There is no Joe Schmo coming out to wrestle in Kill City. You're either a big name or you're a nobody. You're already dead.
Yeah. God, I mean, like what happened to will there ever be another Ric Flair? They're just, I don't know. I maybe I'm missing something, but because I don't watch wrestling anymore, like I used to. But when I do, I glance at it just to see, is there somebody out there that's going to make me stop scrolling and watch it, and I just haven't seen it in the last 15, 20, maybe 25 years.
There was one person that unfortunately passed too soon, and that would be Bray Wyatt. I would say his unique creativity, what he did. I don't know if you watched it during 2020 or whatever, but what he did with The Fiend and Firefly Funhouse, and the cinematic work and the creative work that went into that, and the psychological work that he put into the videos, he brought good character. And unfortunately, he passed. But that was it. That is it. I mean, there isn't any other character that would make me stop and scroll. Even, and he actually is what got me to watch WWE. I had stopped watching wrestling in probably 2002, 2003. I was doing other things, and me and my friends started a YouTube channel. We were doing skits, like shorts and stuff, and we used to do like comedy, horror, just different, weird ass shit. See what would take off, have fun, and we were looking for funny stuff, and one day I remembered how wild Macho Man used to get on the mic. I said, we got to find this promo, and Macho Man does this little, he does a whole smell, and at the end he kind of inhales, and he's like, he stops for a second, he's like, whoa, like you could tell whatever drug he just did hit. And he's totally zonked out for a second, he gets off the stage, but he was so hyped up. And I'm like, this is the level we need. And he was like, wow, there's magic in this. He's like, we should do like a pretend wrestling promotion based on just a lot of promos and funny shit like this and see where it goes. And we kind of just started doing things, and then, but it was stuff like that. Like I said, promos like that and shit like that. That was just like, you won't see that again. You're not going to find that again. You're not going to find characters like that again. A lot of stuff gets censored, obviously. The fans censor themselves. They hate each other. They hate the product. They hate what they like.
Yeah.
They like what they hate. It gets weird. Like everybody will want something, they'll want a match so bad, and then everybody will get the match, and then they don't want it no more, and everybody will shit on it, and then it changes, and then everybody's mad again. It's a very weird wrestling scene. That's why I like the indie scene. The indie scene's different. People just kind of go. They like what they like, and they go just to watch it, and they pay money, and they're like, okay, I'm going to enjoy it. I just spent $20 or $30. that's a lot of money for this. Let me enjoy it.
Yeah.
Big shows, they'll spend thousands of dollars just to go there, just to shit on it for no reason.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But the indie scene I got into because, like I said, I saw, my friends like, let's run, let's do some promos. So I said, well, what's running for wrestling? And I looked around, and I ran into a local place, and I saw some characters there. There was a dude that was dressed like a meta villain. There was, people were somebody again. I was like, oh, this is cool. And I started to get into the indie scene, and the indie scene I started to watch more and more. And then I started to, get into the bigger indie scene, like Beyond Limitless, and venture out. And, I would even, see Luke wrestle a few times, chaotic wrestling and stuff. He is very acrobatic, I have to say. The dude was doing flips and stunts off a guy's back. And I'm surprised he didn't get in the mix at Kill City, honestly. He should have went in there. Somebody should have threw him in there.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking, but I gotta say about Luke, he's just about the best wrestler I've ever seen. I can't believe the high flying stuff, and he knows every move. He can do every move. He'll take a super seasoned wrestler and show him things. This is how. Like they'll say, I can't do that, and shit. And Luke will say, just do it like this, and he'll show them. He'll do anything off the top row. And but one more shout out I have to give, and this is a guy I stop and watch every promo he makes. He's really on a roll right now. Paul Connor.
Yeah,
Calls himself Hazard, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I'm catching bodies. That's it. Yeah. I love that dude. I show everybody every time he comes out a new promo. I run around the job site showing everybody. I know this guy, because he's a legit. I think he's a.
So I keep it at the top of the collection, but yes, because there it is. I catch a body shirt. Yes. I got them too. He honestly is. Has it?
Wait, hold it towards the camera more, because it's getting made up in the green screen. Come closer to me with it. Push it out.
It might not even show.
There it is. All right, catching bodies, dude.
You know what? I'll just wear it, and then it'll have to show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, you see him in that light. Were you kind of shocked now that he was like Zip Monk as well?
Yeah.
There it is.
That's it. I'm here to catch bodies.
And he's another one like Luke. Like honestly, those two alone could open up a wrestling school and produce champions. He's had training with Scott Hall. He's been all over the place. He's done some of the biggest names. Kenny Omega. He's wrestled. He's another one. He's just underrated. Him and Luke very underrated in the wrestling world for some reason. But they're like top notch. Like honestly, they should open a school because they're very nice, but they're also very knowledgeable. Like you said, they can teach veterans things. But seeing him, like I said, I saw him and I was a fan of him. Again, it had to be that chaotic show because they were running together. They were tagging up, him and Paul.
Yeah.
Paul and he goes, it's on Champ was his name, but yeah. And, they're running in, and I like this kind of stuff because, I'm a hip hop fan, and there's not many characters that come out and are hard like that. So I'm like, let me watch this guy, and I'm like, wow. And, and then I started seeing him on a show called The Road. It was a wrestling show, and they're in Limitless. And, again, tapings was very nice for me because I was able to kind of like watch a show, look at other matches, find out about the people. I had time. It wasn't just boop. I was very able to run my podcast was little bit different. I was able to run better because everything was on a time schedule, but there was time to do it. But yeah, so I went back and I followed him and I saw this and I saw that and I'm like, wow, wow, wow. So then I became a fan of him and I started, like I said, I started buying t-shirts. I bought one, when I saw this one for sale, I actually bought all three of them at the same time. It came in 3 colors, red, blue, and green maybe? Or purple. He now has a green one as well though. I have that one too. But like I said, I popped hard when I saw him in the film The Zipmunk because that's totally different.
Yeah. I that kind of like I loved the Zipmunk. It was awesome. It had to be there. It just fitted so perfect in Kill City Cup. But I was kind of like I said, a little depressed we couldn't see, the real Paul Connor character has it. I mean, because he's just it's just so convincing. Like I don't know him and Luke were somewhere. It looked like they were in maybe Jersey. They were in public somewhere, and he did this little video, and I knew people were watching because his voice came out so loud, and I noticed people walking around watching, and I can't help but fall on the floor laughing that he acts like that in public because I love doing that shit. I would love to go into public and do Mr. Kill like. We should all walk into a supermarket. We'll go into a Publix and go shopping and all do our character. I mean, something like that.
See, I learned it around 2020, 2021. Talk about immersion. My character just became me. And like, that just became it. So like 90% of the time when I go out, 90% of the people just call me Versace. A lot of people get skittish on the stoner pot. I do like to smoke. That's obviously, true. I'm a medical patient, whatever it is. But, a lot of the things that I do online are the same that I do. I'm the same person. I love doing shit like that in public. I got a decent following on YouTube, 80-something thousand, I'm trying to get that 100,000. I love doing shit like that. My kid loves when I do shit like that. He's like, oh, let's do a skit. He's into Mr. Beast and all these guys with millions of subs. Hundreds of millions. So he wants us to, me like take a Ferrari out or steal a cop cars. I'm like, no. But I love going out in character. I love doing things that are kind of like, I'll go into a place and like, I used to do figure hunts. I would just go in there and just be Versace stoner and go figure hunting and look for stuff. And be like, I find that stuff great. So like, again, when I see he goes out, he wears the basketball jersey, he's all geared up. He's got his attitude. He's loud as shit. Like you said, people that are walking by are easily stopping. What's this guy about? He's talking in strange lingo that not everybody can understand. It's great, and that's the thing. He goes so hard with that character that it is convincing. I was astounded that he wasn't that high when I first brought him on the show. That he was actually normal. Like I thought that's how he went 24/7. But again, that's great character work. That's what differentiates you. That's what makes you stick out. Those are the people you remember. I remember him from 3-4 years ago. There was a lot of people on that show. It was a great chaotic show. But I'll always remember him and Luke, because A, he came out that way. B, Luke, like I said, he did this hop where he jumped across 2 guys' backs off a wall, did a flip, like he was doing acrobats. I've never seen stuff like that, especially on the indie scene, especially, like I said, anywhere. So it was wild. But, seeing them all together, seeing him bring in friends like that, seeing him bring in people like Brian Cage, Jimmy Jacobs, all these people from everywhere. He brought in Natalia from NWA, it was just a perfect, like you said, meshment. And then he just, kind of like you said, handpicked. And I did hear, a part 2 is being released at some point. There was other matches or whatever. I don't know. Like you said, there was a lot of taping. So maybe it's been now formatted and fitted. And, I'm really excited for that because like I said, this has been like, for me, I've watched it so many times. I know it's still brewing and there's still many people to see the first one, but for people like me, I feel like I'm ready to see the second. I've watched this one so many times, but again, it's a very interesting marketing plan. The whole thing in general, because it wasn't. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not the business end of things, so I don't know what he paid people per se. I don't know what he paid for rent. I don't know what he did for space. I don't know what he had to pay for production. I don't know what he paid for the ring, perhaps. I don't know any of that. I don't know if he paid any of the workers. I don't know if he was just friends of his. But I do know this: he didn't charge anybody to watch that film either.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
it's a shame there's something that good. It's really hard to get people to stop and watch. It could be the best show in the world, but just in the age we're in, it's hard to get people to watch anything, So I don't know, but I really need to talk to Luke because I've heard a couple of stories that you can actually pitch this show to networks, and if you're willing to pay for the production to produce it, and the network doesn't have to prepay to produce the show, if the producer himself pays for it, there's a better likelihood of the network taking it. If you pay to produce it, we'll buy it from you after that, because they're eliminating a.
Well, for instance, you were just with Netflix doing something, and I mean, obviously you were hired on, you weren't the producer, but for instance, Cal Williams, he was just, obviously doing an interview, and he was saying something. He said that, I don't know if it's true, but he was talking on the extent that it kind of, if you pay for your own show on Netflix, and you, like you said, put up the producing and all this, it is a lot easier to get on these platforms. Because they're just taking your product, really. You are, you're putting up most of the costs. It's not them paying for, to fly in people and all of that. But like you said, we're in this kind of day of age where everything's a risk. Had he put it behind a $10 paywall, well, what happens if people didn't want to gamble on the 10? It's a wrestling film. Some people don't want to spend $10 to go to a wrestling show. They only want to spend $5. That's the thing. The way you pitch it, it was the worst wrestling film ever. So already in some people's minds, wrestling, they might not want to pay for that. But again, you got people like me that will appreciate. I know a lot of people that do appreciate it. That would have just thrown money at it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. It has Brian Cage in it. Let's just throw money. We buy $50, $60 pay-per-views to see these guys wrestle. What's the difference? There is that mentality too. And it is kind of a shame. I would have liked to see that, made a fortune because it was beautifully put together. But at the same point, I respect what he did of that kind of, well, this is what I can do. And now it's like, well, he could put everything else behind a paywall and people are kind of hooked. I don't know if that's his plan or ploy. I really honestly don't. Knowing Luke, he's such a nice guy, it probably won't be. He'll probably be like, buy one, get another one all free. I don't know. But like you said, hopefully after all this, there's definitely obviously a market for this, I think, niche wrestling, I call it in a way, because you have, is it your every day of the mill wrestling? No. I mean, you're going to have people that are going to criticize it because the arm locks aren't tight enough, or this isn't, secure, or it had too much, special effect or whatever. But again, that's not its purpose. It wasn't supposed to be the best indie show. It's supposed to be the, worst wrestling film. So taking that into account, you putting that all together, it's not for everybody. It's for people that like to support wrestling, B, like, cinematic wrestling, I would call it, and C, like I said, like something different. And again, not to keep repeating myself, but it can get stigmatic, especially, I can get the same, like on the scene. The more you go, the more you see, and the more you see, the more it almost is the same, because you're just seeing it so often.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that
Well,
wasn't the case there, he gave us just enough in that hour and whatever, not even, I think it's like right under an hour. So we want more, we're all thirsty for more, I think by this point. I know people that have already hit me up, because I've done, a lot with it. As soon as I saw this product, I was like, look, I run a podcast. Actually, he found me. He was like, you have decent subscribers. I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm not doing so bad. He was like, would you mind, sharing my the trailer? And I was like, yeah, whatever you want. And we started talking. He's like, I do, interviews and stuff. And he started throwing me guys, Mason X, technical guy, Daniel, the alchemist there. I started to get more and more people. You were still under a contract, so you couldn't talk. You were actually the first guy I asked for. I was like, where's that Mr. Kill guy? He was like, oh, he can't talk. He's under a locked contract. I'm like, well, let me know when that expires, please, because I'm going to be waiting. I'm like, what about Brian Cage? He's like, no, he's in AEW. I'm like, okay, well, the two Bryans are out. Now we got to start at the bottom. Okay, who else you got? He's like, well, I got this guy and this guy. I'm like, we'll take it, we'll take it, we'll take it. And, slowly but surely, I've been just, plugging away at these guys and girls on this film. And I love it because they're all just as excited as Luke is. They all have that Luke energy for his project.
when I did the Netflix show and I got invited to a handful of podcasts to do the podcast, but I refused them all. I don't know why. I just, the time and the, I don't know. Some of them were a little cheesy, but I didn't do any of them. But when I was familiar with you because I kept seeing you pop up on. He told me about you, and then you've been popping up on Facebook. I see, some of your interviews on YouTube. But you're a character like the other podcasts. They're too regular. Nobody cares about you. But you got the whole get up with the fur coat and the hat and shit.
Oh yeah, and like I said, today I'm kind of casual. It's a little warmer right now. I got this before I bring my podcast shirt, but if it was a little bit cooler, I would have put my fur on. I would have put my hat on, and I go out like that, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'll go out dressed like that, and people will be looking at me. My wife will be looking at me. My kid will be in his glory. He's like, he starts calling me all sorts of names. He starts rambling things on. He's like, oh, he looks like the pimp named Slickback. He starts, he's been watching too much YouTube, so he'll start doing YouTube dances and stuff in public with me dressed like that. But hoping someone will catch us. But yeah, and that's the thing. I like to keep it light. I like to keep it light. It doesn't have to be 100% professional. I'm not trying to make a living out of it. I like to do this for fun. Yeah. And I started to do the podcast because I wanted more eyes and ears on the scene. It was one thing to go to a show and see 100 people watching it, but what happens if 1,000 people can learn about it, or 10,000, or whatever 1,000 people can learn about it? And that's what I wasn't seeing on the the scene. I was just seeing the same 100 people talking about it. And now there's a bunch of people running great podcasts. After 2020, a lot of people started inviting guests on and taking people on. Like you said, some of them they're a little boring. Some of the characters, they're too professional. Me, I just like to keep it real. If I wasn't talking with you right now, I'd still be smoking weed. I would still be chilling. I would still be having a good time, probably laughing, doing something. So not much is changing. I'm just having you and having the conversation. And like I said, conversations I've been waiting to have this because, like I said, it's been behind that kind of a wall, and it was kind of this gap. And I said you were the one memorable guy at first because again, I'm listening to the audio, and and I'm laughing at it, and I'm going back. And then Luke had me doing he wanted me to do GIFs. So I went through and scrubbed through the film, and this is probably where I watched the first 300 times. I'm walking through and I'm trying to find the best clips to scrub down and turn into GIFs, and most of them are you with your one-liners. I got you saying I hate B movies. I got you, and it's all subtitled out. So I was doing that for him, and he had me do those. And again, he had me, again, we just kind of built a friendship over this because, again, I'm very interested in this project. Seeing everybody's energy and seeing something different in wrestling is just, Like I said, it's not something you see every day. And for me, being a creative person, I am. I love to do creative works. I do a lot of music. I do a lot of video. I like to write. I like to, draw. I like to do art. I like to do gaming. I like to do bunches of stuff, content creation. Um, and that's where it is kind of hard for me to sit down and just kind of focus on something for 2 to 3 hours because I do have all this, thoughts in my processes going on. And like, oh, that just inspired me. Let me go do this. And I'm only like half watching the movie now. And Kill City Cup was probably the first time I did actually sit down and watch it. And there was many times when like I'm an early riser. Sometimes I'll wake up 3:30, 4 in the morning with nothing to do. And so like for a while I was turning on, the Kill City Cup and just watching that in the morning and kind of, getting more ideas and kind of, seeing where I want questions, this and that, and kind of leading it. And every morning I was sitting there watching. And I know it's good. It was good for the channel because it's giving an extra view, but it was also, like I said, something I enjoyed. I could still watch it now and not be bored of it because it's just one of those things that just endless entertainment. It's just some of the jokes are endlessly funny.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't watch movies and stuff, but back in the day, I didn't watch a lot of movies. But when I watched a movie and I liked it, I did the same thing. I'd watch it 100 times. Like the original Terminator movie, I watched that 100, 200 times. The original Lord of the Rings, same thing. I love that movie. I just kept watching it over and over. Yeah, we have the same kind of mentality when it comes to that.
It is, it'll drive my wife crazy because I watch now just a lot of horror movies, and those are the other movies I can kind of do. But see, for me, to watch a horror movie, I gotta watch it like late at night, like for me, well, for her, late at night is 10. For me, that the night's starting up. So I go to bed again around 11:30, 12. So I don't need a lot of sleep. So I'll start a nice horror movie. That's the other time I can kind of focus because now I'm done with all the projects, all the computers, everything's away. I'm done. Phone's over there. So I start the horror movie. There might be something I've watched like 3 or 4 times already, but I just like it. And, she'll start screaming, "What are you watching that for again? What's with all the screaming? Why you gotta watch only horror movies?" And I'm like, well, I mean, I like the horror. Sometimes, there'll be like a scene or there'll be like a sound riff in it. And she'll just like sit up like the Undertaker, like dead awake, like somebody got murdered. And I'm just like, it's okay, it's just the TV, go back to bed. But yeah, I get stuck on those things, and I watch the same film and kind of, like I said, certain films like that, even like the classic films like you just mentioned, you kind of learn something new about the film and you learn about things. And if you're into film and you're into these things, you kind of learn techniques. You're like, oh wow, that's interesting. Or wow, that's interesting. And I always go back and sometimes I'll even like Google stuff and Google facts and try to find stuff out. But yeah, a lot of the times I'm busy creating or I'm busy doing something. I'm not actually watching anything. And even on YouTube, if I'm scrolling through YouTube, like I'll check out other, content creators that I'm friendly with. I'll check out their content. If they have other interviews, like a lot of people from Kill City Cup went on a bunch of different shows. So I'll check those out, give them the thumbs up, watch their video, comment on it, give them their view time. But other than that, like I don't even have time to watch a lot of YouTube. I don't really scroll a lot of TikTok, Rails, anything. I'm too busy having to make the stuff. It gets to that kind of point being a content creator. You're too busy making than actually watching. But that's just kind of with the creative flow of things, being creative isn't easy.
No, I don't know if you see. I got another little side hustle in entertainment. It's making viral videos. Did you see any of them? Did you see the mop bucket video I made? It got like 1 billion views. If you just Google mop bucket man, you'll see pages and pages. It's been on every news outlet. They put me on Good Morning America. They interviewed me. Kelly Clarkson put me on her show and interviewed me over this one stupid video I made. It was I was dressed as a janitor. I had a gray suit on, but I cut the sleeves off to show the guns. and I took a yellow mop bucket that like with the wheels on it, and
Yeah.
I put the mop bucket down and I sat in it, and I took a leaf blower and an umbrella, and I opened the umbrella in front of the mop bucket while I was sitting in it, and I turned on the leaf blower, and the mop bucket would ride around. It would, the force of the leaf blower into the umbrella made me move around, and I was whipping around all these streets in Clearwater, all over Newport Richie and stuff. And I made the video, and it just went absolutely ballistic. It got 1 billion views. I mean, my girlfriend lives in Russia. She said it's all over there. My buddy wrote me. He's in Japan. He said it was just on a variety show here. Somebody did, and this is almost 3 years ago, and it's still that guy Mr. Beast was on a video. People are recreating it, saying, "Is this a hoax? Will this work?" There's videos, spin-off videos of people trying to recreate it. And
That's amazing. That's great. And that's,
yeah, well,
that's awesome. I love that. I love that. Okay.
I got a couple of other ones that got over 100 million views too, and I love doing that. But just the construction, doing my day job, just sucks up all my time. I'm itching to create, but I think I got a game plan where I might be able to do entertainment full time by the end of this year. That's what I'm shooting for, anyway.
Yeah,
So
no, I get that. My father was in construction. He retired now, but he was a general contractor. He did buildings, houses, masonry, and it's not easy. It wasn't for me any which way. I was, I tried a few times and I was like, I'm out. I'm at a lucky point. I do actually home health care, but outside of that, everything else is just content creation. And even if it doesn't make 100 million views or money, I just enjoy doing it. Even if I see 1 penny at it, if my creativity makes 1 penny, I call that a success. Because not everybody's creativity can make anything.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. I had a few videos early on. I started going to these shows and started taping videos and started, putting them on YouTube and stuff. And I started, getting a following, and all of a sudden, some of them reached up to like 10 million point. And, I was very happy for the guys and girls attached to those videos they made, because they were young, they were just in a wrestling school. That same show that I saw Luke in, flipping off the walls, this guy and girl were wrestling it, and their video took off to 10 million views, and now all these people know who's wrestling. For me, that was most important, because that's what I wanted, more eyes and ears on the scene. A lot of stuff now I just create for myself, honestly. I like to create content. Not everything takes off, and I think that's what people don't realize. Not everything is gonna be that, flying high video. I just posted a video the other day, and it did well underspected for what I thought it would do. Like way well underspected. But then something else I put up just like zipped off, and it's the micro wrestling guys, and it just zipped off, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And so I'll go back and reformulate or re-edit what I did and recut the scene maybe, or do what edit the video. Like I said, I like to do a lot of wrestling shorts now. Me and my son have been working on some regular video content. Every time I bring him on TV, he starts swearing for some reason. So I gotta hit cut, stop, because I don't want the video to get flagged. But he does it, I swear, on purpose. Every time he'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot," and then he'll be talking, he'll drop another F-bomb. He's only 5, and I'm like, "Okay, stop now, stop." He's like, "No, I forgot, dude." He's like, "This guy swears on his channel." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not my channel. Come on. I don't need the negative comments, because they will come." So then we'll do it again, and I'm like, "Okay, look, we'll come back when you can not swear, and we'll try again later." But he likes to do a lot of video game content. He watches a lot of video games, so he has me running through video games, trying to do speed runs, all that stuff. But I love all that stuff. I love the internet age. A lot of people don't. I find it, kind of refreshing. We grew up into it. back when I grew up, we didn't have computers. We didn't have any of this stuff. We didn't have, phones to take photos. I didn't get my first actual smartphone, I think, until 2012. And, we didn't have that access, which is probably good. There's a lot of dumb shit done that, there's no record of anywhere. But at the same point, we grew into this technology, and now it's kind of cool that, we can still use it, and we still, it's like I said, it becomes a way of life in a way, and to some it's very profitable. You can make a good penny depending on which platform and where you're at. I know they're looking to ban TikTok, but there's still Meta platforms that still pay decent. I know Google plays still decent if you can get decent numbers, and there's still a whole bunch of other platforms out there that will basically, if you're higher up, they will start paying for your content and views and such too. So I mean, there's plenty of options out there, and like I said, you don't have to be a seasoned pro. You don't have to be a veteran in the movie industry to go viral. You just need something to kind of take off at the right time.
Yeah, it's a whole different time, but and it's going to keep changing too. But we got to live with it. What are we going to do? You can't, like you said back when I was a kid, the only phone we had a wire stuck to the wall, and you had to dial it like this. And we
only had paper cups and a string. We didn't even have the wires.
I remember watching wrestling in black and white, and like McMahon doing interviews. It looked like he did it in his garage. I mean, the cheesiest possible, but God, I loved that stuff. I absolutely loved it. But it's going to keep changing. The technology is going to keep coming. Even if they ban TikTok, we got all the other platforms. So there's always going to be
now. And I mean, honestly, now there's AI integration, which can, a lot of people don't like AI, and a lot of people are against it. Honestly, as a content creator, if you can have, some things be automated and other things be your own, and it's still your own content, it's still your own creative idea, I don't see why. I've been automating things in Photoshop for 15, 20 years now, having, shortcuts and stuff, do what I wanted to do the right filter. It's no different.
Right.
And that's the thing, it's just a company, and that will be something else that will get, change and how that will work. I've seen it hit kind of the movie industry recently, where people are producing full films AI, and it's like the actors are getting scared, or they're going to get replaced. And I'm like, probably not. I mean, we have cartoon movies, right? We have, computer generated movies. Is every movie computer generated? No. Still, there's regular actors. Same thing with AI. Behind that, there will be probably maybe a few movies a year will come out AI generated, and then there'll be other still regular movies.
Yeah.
It won't. It change isn't as scary as people, want to make it believe. And going with those times. But so you finished up the Netflix now. Do you have any plans of jumping into any other series or doing any other video work, or?
I just turned down a couple of things. I don't know what direction I'm going to go right now. I got another a video that I'm finishing up. I got one more scene. Maybe tomorrow I've had it forever because I was under contract with Netflix and I couldn't release it. It's just a little quick comedy, video, just like the mop bucket thing. And that'll be the next thing you see me in. But after that, I mean, I got a list of these little short videos that I need to make. I got to get them out of my system, but I just got to find the time. But other than like TV shows and stuff, I just got out of this contract with Netflix, so now I can start looking. I can start applying for other stuff, So you'll, difficult as it is to look at this face, you're gonna see it out there some more, like it or not.
I hope so. Honestly, I'd be looking for it. And whatever role you get, I mean, I just know you'll probably smash it in, and that's the thing. And hopefully, we see you back as Mr. Kill too. That role is just so iconic now. Like I said, I mean, for people that know, I mean, like, just I got the world by the balls is just so, like I said, an iconic line. Every wrestler on that show still will say that's their favorite line, and it opens up that flick, and it's such a bold opening because nothing opens that way. Everything's got like a soft opening compared to that now, and it's just like this dude got power.
I, we have to do this again, and you got to be involved in it in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure you and Luke. I'm not really going to get involved in the creative side because I don't want to taint it. They know it. Luke knows what he's doing, and that this is really good. Like I said, is a really good practice. Is Kill City Cup. I don't know what's going through his head right now. He could be working on the next one right now, and I got a funny feeling he is. But I'm gonna leave all the creative stuff to them. I have to be Mr. Kill again. I just love it. I just absolutely love that role. And I'll if whatever he wants from me, I'll give it to him, And hopefully it'll just be the production quality will be a little better, and maybe we'll get noticed a little more. And maybe see, Luke doesn't like to talk on the phone. He's a guy that texts, he's like 1/3 my age, maybe. I don't know. I can't text. I still do one finger when I'm texting. So we can't have long conversations because I can't do that. But I got to call him, but he's always busy and stuff. But I got a couple of ideas how we could probably get this thing. We can pitch it. We could get it to the point where we can pitch it to a bunch of networks. After Netflix, I got a bunch of connections now to get it in with other networks, not just Netflix. And if he offers it to them to pay for the production, he might have a chance of getting it to move somewhere. But then again, you might have to follow their parameters, and there might be a couple of things we got to cut out.
Honestly, I told him, look, if you want to pay me something decent, I'll start making cold calls now, and I'll call everybody in the country. Hey, this is Versace Stone. Have you watched Kill City? Well, what the hell are you fucking waiting for? Put on Kill City Cup now. I ain't hanging up until you do, and watch it. I'll call every house like that. I don't care.
See, there's actually a standard system that these networks use. If you want to pitch a show to them, that they don't want to hear anything. You have to make a 1-page first. They call it a 1-page. It's just it's just a synopsis of the show. It's got to fit on one piece of paper. They call it like the elevator pitch. You have to be you have to be able to pitch it in 8 minutes. That's all you get, But they start off with 1 page, and then if it catches their attention and they like it, then they ask you for more, which is called the Bible. Then it's a couple of pages, And if he's already at a real good advantage because he already shot the thing. It's not like he's pitching an idea. He has it on video. This is what the show will look like. They won't maybe pick that show. They'll want better quality and stuff, because that's another thing you need to do. It's called the deliverables. It has to be color rated for TVs in different countries and stuff. It has to be compatible. All the formats you're using for the audio and the video has to be compatible with televisions in other countries. There's a whole list of hoops you'd have to jump through, but it's all doable. But
and it might honestly, I heard, it might be the move, even not just with Netflix, but I heard Netflix is now going to be picking up in sometime next year or the year after WWE, one of their shows. So like wrestling's going to Netflix at some point anyways.
Yeah.
Even on the mainstream. And, there's there's obviously things like Tubi that show it as well. But there's nothing really on like Amazon Prime or anything like that. But again, it's such a product that you don't want to just kind of waste it away in the regular indie wrestling. You could throw it to IWTV and they'll own the rights, but you don't want to throw that rights away because there was a lot of production, post-production, editing put into that. It's not just your standard run-of-the-mill indie show that takes place once a month. You know what I mean? There was a lot more put into it that needs to be kind of preserved and saved. Because, people put work and effort into that. That's creative work and time.
Yeah.
You don't want just some, corporation to kind of just yank all that, well, we did it on. It's like, well, no, not really. And again, you want to hit the right market because it's not just wrestling. It also does involve, horror elements, video game style elements, and other movie style elements. It tells a story beginning to end in a time period, which makes it that film. It has a beginning and end. The end actually leaves you hanging, like what the hell just happened, which makes you even want a sequel more. You guys screwed Natalia really good. And people really felt for her. I think the character.
Yeah.
Not me. I loved it. I like I said, I'm a fan of the bad people in movies and in wrestling. Same thing. So like when I see shit like that and it end like that, I enjoy it. I'm like, good. That's what they get. That's how life is. You get it. You get screwed over. It's not easy all the time. You don't always get what you get. But yeah, it told that story, and it made me, like I said, it gave me the film aspect. Now, whether it goes somewhere, it definitely should. And like you said, it's already made. It has a pitchable story. I mean, 8 minutes, you could tell probably the whole story.
Yeah.
In 8 minutes, you could tell the whole Kill City cover, every in 8 minutes, you could tell the whole thing. But
yes,
it's simple enough that it's simple, but it's like I said, the way it's just something about it, the way the acting was done, the way it was shot, the cinematics. I know you say that it could be more, but you've worked, like I said, on movie studios and such, so it's a little bit different quality, obviously. And hopefully, with even help. I told Luke, take help. I'll help. If you want sponsors and stuff, take money in. And upgrade equipment if that has to be it. People want to see you succeed. People want to see this succeed. So there's people that want, to help this along with, no strings attached. They're looking just to help. And that's the beauty of this product. Everybody talking about this got passion. Like I said, the passion's just there. I mean, even you have passion for it. You've been to Netflix. You've been to bigger things, Wrestlers that have wrestled in, WWE and AEW have passion for it. That's amazing to see. They're on national televised wrestling. They have passion for, Luke's project. That's cool to me. That's something that's awesome. Again, it's something that came from his mind, creativity. You being a creator, you're making videos, you got videos in your head. Someone else to believe in your videos, you feel that, You're like, wow. I'm doing this, and somebody else is at least enjoying it,
Yeah. Vsw Stoner, my battery's gonna croak. And my thing, it just flashed up there.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kill. And like I said, we'll look out for this video coming out soon by you, and we'll keep following on social media and reaching out, and we'll see if any more Kill City stuff comes out. Thank you, though, for taking the time. Again, really, really appreciated. And you have yourself a great day.
Okay, you too, Vsw, and do not stop what you're doing. You hear me? Because you're doing great. I love that last little segment with that show you just went to recently. I love everything you put out. It was I actually stop and watch it. And that's a real big achievement for you.
That means something to me, so thank you. And you keep doing what you're doing out there. You're very entertaining, and that inspires people to be entertaining as well. Thank you.
Okay. Vsw Stoner, I love you, brother, and I'll see you out there. We'll be hooking up in some way, shape, or form. We'll get together.
Luke's gotta throw a party and just invite us all down. Bring us to Florida. Come on.
All right, we'll push him for that.
Push him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, bro.
You too. And thank you everybody at home for watching. It's been a pleasure as always. Support indie wrestling. Vsw Stoner out.
Welcome to the Kill City Kahrs. by the